we want to make sure that we leave enough room to be able to create a positive impact, because once the families and the residents are in a position where they can like think about thriving instead of just thinking about surviving, that's when everything changes, you know, within themselves, within their family, within their workplace, and then within the community.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mindset Podcast, hosted by Eric Nelson and brought to you by Wild Oak Capital. Eric is a real estate investor, business owner, and performance coach. Throughout this series, Eric explores the mindset behind why certain investors are so successful and how we can learn from their achievements and failures. Eric asks the tough questions around the habits, discipline, mindset, and more required to achieve the most ambitious goals. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Eric Nelson, and today I'm pretty jazzed on the guests, Michael Barnhart and Suzy Sevier. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Eric. We're really excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's just jump right in. If you guys could kind of give us your backgrounds, where you came from, and then what got you into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we currently live in Cambridge, England. And the reason that we are here is because Michael is active duty Air Force. And so he's getting his PhD at the University of Cambridge. And I am currently a program manager at a biotech company. But before moving here, we did live in Colorado Springs, and Michael was teaching at the Air Force Academy, which is then what brought us here, because within getting his PhD, we will move back and he will finish out his career at the Air Force Academy teaching. But before then too, I had just recently gotten my MBA at the University of Denver. And actually when we do return, I will have then be in real estate full-time because I am leaving my, traditional 9 to 5 in August. But the whole reason, or how real estate even started was because of COVID-19 and the lockdowns. So the first one over here, we had no idea how long it was going to last. And it lasted a little over 100 days. But Michael and I don't have a TV, and we could only go outside once a day to exercise and go to the grocery store or the pharmacy. So we just looked at each other and had said, what are we going to do? Because Michael does wet lab research. And so he can't do that at the house, nor would I really want him to. But we decided to do a mini book club with each other. And the first book was The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And in the back had a reading list. And one of those books actually was Multiple Streams of Income. And in that book, a couple chapters in, it discusses real estate investing. And Michael had just looked at me and he's like, skip all the chapters, just go straight to this one. This is what we have to do.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's where it all formed. From there, we looked up different meetups and different podcasts and more books to read so that we could get a wide lens perspective of what real estate investing was, what it included. I mean, there's endless knowledge, right? But we knew that with everything being virtual, it was the greatest opportunity that we ever had to get into the space.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things there, and then Michael will let you go. But first off, education is huge, right? So if someone ever asks me what's the first step, I always say, grab a book, grab a podcast, just kind of immerse yourself in it. And so kudos to you, because that's, to me, is you guys did it right. And it's hilarious that you were kind of just staring at each other and then found it. I mean, that's pretty cool. Michael, I'll let you kind of go though.
Yeah. So after that, after we started, Suzy mentioned that we, started looking up all these networking events and everything like that. And we started reading more and more. We were learning everything about real estate investing, wholesaling, flipping, multifamily, self-storage, the whole gamut, if you will. And so with that, we ended up actually going to one of the conferences was a veterans real estate investment conference. And so we paid for the upgrade and got the Q&A session. And we had a one-on-one session with Whitney Sewell. Whitney Sewell kind of planted a seed. He looked right at me. He said, Michael, you don't have to start with single family. You can start with multifamily. And I was like, okay. And so that planted a seed in the back of my head, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, you're crazy, and so we're like, okay, that's cool. How do we do that? You know, and he gave us some information on some books to read for multifamily and stuff like that. And we actually set up a team, like a long distance investing team in a Midwest city. And what ended up happening, we got 2 properties under contract, but an inland hurricane came through and took out like 60% of the trees, and the town was out of power for like weeks. And so we ended up, you know, taking a step back. Needless to say, those properties fell out of escrow because we couldn't get contractor bids. The contractors were more focused on rebuilding the city than they were on, rehabbing a rental property, right?
Yeah.
So,
how dare they get infrastructure back in order before they make you guys move?
right, exactly. So yeah, we couldn't get bids on the property, and so they fell out. We couldn't get financing. They fell out escrow, which actually was a blessing for us. Unfortunate time for the city. It is really unfortunate. However, we took a step back and we're like, well, the city's not going to be able to be up and running to do this for probably another 6 to 9 or even a year later. And so Suzy and I's 5-year goal was to get into multifamily. So then that seed that Whitney still had placed in the back of my head started, growing a little seedling, and it got this wild idea, like, let's just do what he said. Let's just jump straight into multifamily, right? And so that kind of turned us on to even more like networking events, because networking in multifamily real estate and commercial real estate really is the lifeblood, right? And so we started, networking, calling more people, and then which ended up leading us to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is our main market now. We closed on 1 property, and we're closing on our 2nd property now. So.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot in there, right? I mean, first off, networking, absolutely. That's one of my favorite things about multifamily. And then Whitney Sewell's already crazy since he does a daily podcast. That's insane to me. But the fact that he planted that seed and you guys came back to that. I think, most people will progress by buying maybe a house hack or single family, kind of eventually gravitate over time towards multifamily. So the fact you guys made that leap, that's really cool. So kudos. I mean, because there's a lot to learn, right? I mean, there's kind of a learning curve, and you guys overcame that. So plus you had help from COVID to sit and stare at books, but still.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then, we were talking offline. I mean, we look in Tulsa as well. And I might as well just say this for our listeners. We lost out on that property that you guys are closing on. So I was hesitant to say it, but I might as well say it. I mean, I wish I would have known you 2 months ago, right? But that's part of the gig. And I think I really want to touch back on networking is super, super important. And it's also just fun. I mean, it's like cool to meet people who are doing the same thing. And so very neat. So let's talk about what you guys are doing. What's your goals? I know you invest in Tulsa. What are kind of what's your vision? What are you looking for? What's the properties you're after? That type of thing.
Yeah. So actually our vision is, realistically, if we could close on 4 deals a year, that would be phenomenal. Some sort of value add, and like with over 100 units, because as we also talked about, we love our property manager. Like, she is a crucial part of our team, because with multifamily, it is all about the team that you have. And that's how we are able to be so successful from the location that we live in. And that's what we want to also show others, is that you can live wherever you want to live as long as you have that super stable team. But within our deals, we actually have like an added component. So like our big thing, I guess, for real estate investing is like, how many people can we impact? And so, yes, a deal could look amazing, but if the numbers don't work with like a specific part of our business plan, as in like adding extra washer and dryers, adding more amenities that the residents would actually want and use, or being able to have resident events and being able just to like go above and beyond, have financial classes for the residents, potentially bring on tutors so that students can learn about, or younger children or high schoolers, whatever, can have that extra education about financial literacy. That's like a huge part of what we add in. So yes, although it is like value add, we want to make sure that we leave enough room to be able to create a positive impact, because once the families and the residents are in a position where they can like think about thriving instead of just thinking about surviving, that's when everything changes, within themselves, within their family, within their workplace, and then within the community.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, because it's so good. I mean, when we talk about value add, I mean, of course, we're kind of talking about adding value to the property. But the heart of it and kind of the why behind it is to make a better place for people to live. And you guys have taken that to the next step. I mean, if you really could educate folks that are living there, I mean, that's my heart too, is like, so actually, as of yesterday, we have 40 units under contract in Texas. And it's like this street that's been pretty neglected. And we have a pretty big rehab budget. And I'm so excited to go in there and basically make this a better street for people to live on. And it's so exciting to hear you guys say that same thing, because it creates a more valuable why behind the value add or what you're doing. So that's really cool. And then there's also like a travel component and an adventure component. I mean, you guys kind of talk about that as well.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing real quick before we move to that, Eric. It's just, one of the things that Suzy mentioned is like we really align with our property management company there in Tulsa, and like they really align with, and we're looking not just for somebody who's focused on, raising rents and that's it, like all focused on numbers. Like we want to make sure that our values of creating impact align with their values as well. And we're very fortunate that we found a property management company that does that. And what I always say is that they focus on NOI. And what I mean by NOI is net operating impact, not a net operating income, right? And so it's just really incredible watching them work and being a part of that and leading, sharing our vision with them, and then seeing them execute on that, making sure that the residents are taken care of first before the bottom line.
Totally agree. I mean, I think we'll kind of touch on this later, but this is a mindset podcast, and what's come around over and over and over throughout the show is money is most people want more, right? It's a tool though. And what are you going to do with it? Right. So I would personally rather have less money and do something good anytime. Right. My wife totally agrees. Like the NOI is, I mean, I love what you're saying. I'm like stumbling with words here because it's like the perfect way to say it, right? Like net operating impact. I love that. So you coined it. It's on your website. You get to have it forever. But no, very, very, very cool. Totally agree with you. And again, in the off show, I mean, we were talking about that property manager, and we know her as well. And she is an absolute rock star, and she's such a good asset to your team. So it's really interesting that we both had found that same person. And again, kudos to you guys for winning that deal. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we gravitate to her, is because one, she's really in tune and smart and on top of it. But two is like her values align as well. So very cool. And then, yeah, let's, if you don't mind, let's jump to kind of the adventure and travel aspects of what you guys are trying to do and looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a hashtag for our relationship, or what, partnership, all of the above, right? And it's Road to 100 Countries. And there's quite a few things that go into that. But what it really is that like this world has so much to offer, and even after moving here and meeting so many different people from so many like diverse cultures, like we just want more of that, right? Because it's just phenomenal, like what is out there in the world. But also, because education is so big for Michael and I, right? Because Michael was a professor, will go back to continue to be a professor. I've been a coach and a mentor, is that we actually want to build schools in third world countries. And so being able to travel, we can actually figure out like where we could be needed the most, because basic education can solve so many poverty issues. And we would just like to be a part of that, right? Because there will be a point where Michael will stop teaching at the Air Force Academy, but we want to continue that education piece of our lives in a different way. And so it is just a mix of like continuing our education path and how we can serve others. And then also like just seeing what this beautiful, beautiful world has to offer.
Yeah, it's a combo of both. So I've had the pleasure of doing some mission work and traveling all over the world as well. And I can't say enough how much I agree with you. It's like, if you can serve others, it kind of serves you as well, right? I mean, sometimes it's a selfish endeavor, but it does help. And then the second piece, again, we've touched on this already, is education is so important. My best friend growing up is a teacher. Well, shout out to Tyler. And he always talks about like, if people say, how do you solve blank? And a lot of times it just starts with education. It's the biggest component in a lot of world issues is for people to be educated in what they are. And ignorance has this kind of negative connotation, but it really means is that they don't know. So, that ignorance is a huge component to problem. So, I mean, I'm really impressed by you guys. This is super cool to chat with you. I'm like so happy to have this podcast. I was happy to wake up early. This is really cool. So everything that you just said, I completely agree with. And then, so help me understand, I mean, you guys basically went over there. Were you planning to stay this long, or did COVID kind of force you to stay a little longer? You were always planning to do your PhD and then come back?
Yeah, so we've been here it'll be 2 years, I guess, next month. And we will be here for about a year and a half. Depending on a couple other things. But and then that's the plan, was just to stay, or we would like to stay longer so we can actually travel. And now that things are starting to open up a little bit more. But
Sure.
But yeah, that at the time that we're kind of locked down, we were able to really focus on businesses and things like that. So now that we can actually travel with more, with more cash flow, buying the assets, and then we can use the money from that to travel, which is awesome. So
yeah, and I think so. The kind of the first question I had when I was looking at your guys' website was, I wonder how hard it is to do this overseas. I mean, that was kind of my first question for you. But what's interesting about this time, and myself included, was we all had to kind of jump to Zoom. I mean, everyone sort of just jumped to video conferencing, right? It made connecting with people so much easier. And so I feel the same. I mean, I live in Colorado. We invest in Texas and Oklahoma. Sure, it's not the long flight, but it isn't there either, So if you think about it, lots of people are doing what you guys are doing, but have you found it to be difficult overseas, or am I kind of saying something accurate where it's possible with the digital age?
I think it's definitely, if it would be more challenging if COVID didn't happen. And the reason why I say that is because Zoom has become so ubiquitous that if you say to a broker or a potential limited partner or a potential partner, like you say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call and let's get to know each other, right? Instead of meeting for coffee or meeting for lunch or whatever. Everybody's like, yeah, let's hop on a Zoom call. Like Zoom has been so ubiquitous because of COVID and everything moving online. Before COVID, I think, a lot of people, I mean, I've used Zoom before COVID, but I think a majority of people hadn't ever used it. And so it has opened up several doors for us in order to, and we've really taken advantage of the virtual networking now. With that as well, there are some things that have been a little bit challenging, but I think those are just the things that you would experience if you're investing, down the street or, out of state or from Washington to Florida, for example. I think those are all the same challenges that everybody would have. And what we've actually been doing is Suzy and I are really big on systems and processes. And so we've been putting together the systems in place so that we can do this from wherever in the world. And our whole plan is when I can retire in less than 7 years now, we're going to be living wherever we want to. So we're going to move out to Colorado, but that's not going to be our home base. We're going to go live in Thailand or Australia or New Zealand or whatever. And we're going to stay there as long as we want. But we're kind of building the systems now, putting all the processes together, and also proving it to our investors. Hey, it doesn't matter where we are, what time zone we're in, we can still manage these assets actively from wherever we are in the world. And so that we're kind of also doing that because that's our end goal, right? And so actually not being as close where we can hop in a car and drive to our asset or hop on a plane real quick and fly to our asset has forced us to really fine tune our systems and processes in order to show that we can actually do this.
Awesome. I think a couple of things. First off, I mean, that's amazing. You guys can do that and prove that it's possible. And two, it's so important to start with the end in mind, So you guys have this ultimate goal. You knew where you wanted to be. You knew what that kind of looked like. And then you work backwards, right? Say okay, what do we have to do to get where we want to be? And I'm just huge on that. Start with the end in mind, start with your why, and then kind of go backwards from there. So I mean, it's so true. I had never used Zoom. I, Skyped here and there when I was overseas, and so many people were that way. And then, I co-hosted a meetup, and then all of a sudden that meetup had to go digital. And then we were getting people from LA and all over the place kind of jumping on, right? And So you're starting networking. It truly did make it easier, and it's an unfortunate event, of course, but you got to take the positive away from those things. And I completely agree. It's made it easier to do this type of thing. Right. So, podcast with someone in England doesn't even seem weird at the moment, So cool. Well, we'll kind of jump to the next part of the show, and I just, kind of fire off a list of questions. And so you guys can answer however you like. We'll just kind of go back and forth. And what I like to do with two guests is let one person answer first and flip flop. So okay. Suzy, we'll start with you. Okay. Do you have a morning routine?
Yes. So we actually share the morning routine, so I can talk about it a little bit and then Michael can end it. But our morning routine, well, because we do everything together, right? So like that's a big part of it. But we wake up in the morning and immediately it's reading and then scribing or journaling and then meditating. And just because like the reading just starts up all of the creative pieces, of our mind. Like every day that we read something, even if it's only 10 pages, you learn so much from it, right? And then scribing is when we like chat with each other about what we are going to accomplish for the day and discuss like, okay, does this align with our 1 week goal and our 30-day goal and our 60-day goal? So it kind of helps keep us in track. And then meditating grounds us, right? So it's like, okay, thinking in the moment, thinking in the present, and letting everything go before you start the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then what do we do?
Yeah. And then after that, then we exercise, get the body moving somehow, whether that's a long run, or, yoga or some kind of like high interval or high intensity training or something like that, just to get the blood flowing and work for our breakfast. And then we have breakfast and we'll work on the business. And then we head to our W-2s after that. So, which Suzy works from home. So it's just up the stairs and I have like an 8-minute bike ride to work. So it's really awesome. But
yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I love that routine. I think everyone has their own like style, and I like asking that question because, it's what works for you. Right. And so it's cool that you guys have this routine together. And then one thing you mentioned was like checking in to see if it hits your week goal, 30-day goal, 60-day goal. Those things are super cool. And to do it every day, that's incredible. I mean, I'm sure you guys are seeing the same progress because of that. I mean, it's so powerful to write these things down, but if you're doing it daily or near daily, that becomes a pretty powerful tool. So, okay. Well, the next one we touched on a little bit, Michael, we'll let you go first, is what books are you reading or what books do you recommend?
So the book I'm reading right now is called Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. So like, I'm a big visionary to begin with. It's like part of like my blueprint is like, I like to vision like 5-10 years out down the road. And we have a vision board and everything like that. But like his whole thing is, writing out like a 4 or 5 page like vision, right? Like detailed oriented, because like if you build a vision board and you share that with your company and members of your company, like it means something completely different to them when they look at it than when you're looking at it, right? And so you want to put whatever you have in your mind down on paper and then share that with everybody so that everybody's tracking in the same way. And so I'm excited. I'm going to read the book and then write up our vision, and then Suzy and I write it together. So I'm really excited to work on that.
Yeah. So that book is amazing. One, and two, he actually co-wrote a Miracle Morning book for entrepreneurs. So it's really funny that we were talking about Miracle Morning, basically, I mean, more or less. And then after that came out Vivid Vision. And it's so powerful. And I will confess, I haven't read that book, but I read the one that he co-authored about the Miracle Morning, and it has similar things. And then of course, I don't know if you guys listen to Bigger Pockets, but Brandon Turner actually read his Vivid Vision, and it was pretty powerful for me. I mean, I was like, wow, he shared his kind of vision for his future on a podcast. And I still haven't written mine out. My brother and I kind of make this joke about it. It's like, I'm afraid to write it for some reason. But the point is, what an awesome book. Great recommendation. Suzy, you got big shoes to fill. What book do you recommend?
Actually, a book that I'm going to recommend is Who Not How, just because that's like a complete mindset shift, right? Because as entrepreneurs or just with anyone in life, like a lot of people have difficulties asking for help, and a lot of people also have difficulties delegating tasks. But like the book really makes you realize that like in life, you should be working on those like $10,000 tasks and ideas and have other people helping you for all of the others, because that's truly how you can grow, you know, like professionally and personally. And that book in itself just blew my mind, because it doesn't have to just be like about work and profession. Like if you think about it outside of that, like I said, like asking for help is a huge thing for people and they don't want to do it. But when you can find those who's, they can help you accelerate who you are as a person. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah, great recommendation. So one other confession is that through our real estate, like kind of career, I guess you call it, my wife and I basically were picking up single families or small multis. And for some reason, I was afraid to partner. And it wasn't until I met Jens, who's my kind of current coach at the moment, he was like, I felt the same way. He's like, I encourage you to kind of think outside the box and think about partnering. And it's kind of that similar mindset of like not wanting to ask for help, not wanting to partner, thinking I could do it on my own. But it's so powerful to partner with people, and it's so powerful to ask for help or receive help. I mean, I told you guys in the pre-show as well, like I don't edit podcasts. I don't have the desire to, and to ask for help, even, you know, to reach out. It's so powerful. So I think that's such a great recommendation.
Yeah.
That kind of actually leads me to my next question is, do you guys have a coach or a mentor, or have you had in the past?
Yeah. So I actually met, or a mentor now, like just through networking. He's actually somebody who invests and has like several different assets in Tulsa. And like, we met, chatted, and I kept in touch with him, just talking about the market, talking about brokers, properties, things like that in Tulsa. And then I was like, hey man, would you mind like looking over my underwriting and helping me understand, make sure that I'm not messing anything up? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And he knew like I continuously was showing up, like always asking questions, you know, providing value to him however I could. And he ended up being just like, he's like, hey, you want to start meeting like once a week? And we would meet like every Saturday, and we still do. And we just chat, you know, like whether that's about investing or like the market or anything like that. And like, so now it's like asset management stuff that we're talking about, right? So he's been a critical partner for us for sure. So that's our mentor. I also have a business coach that I meet with weekly, and then
yeah, and then I have a high performance habits coach, and I just absolutely adore him, right? Because you don't really realize that you need a coach until you have a coach. And like just being able to have like, because they just ask you questions so that you can unlock the power within. And that's the coolest part, right? Just those eye-opening moments of realizing your potential and like being turned to your blind spots. It just blew my mind. And so I really adore him. We meet weekly, and it's just been phenomenal.
So like you always think about like all these top athletes, right? These Olympic athletes, they have coaches, you know, and they're performing at their highest, you know, part of their life. And like, why is it so bad? Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's bad, but like more people need to have coaches in business, especially entrepreneurs, right? Like, because you, like Suzy was mentioning, like you have so many blind spots and you don't know how to unlock the potential within yourself. And like, it can just accelerate that potential that you have and like unlocking it all and making you or helping you perform at your highest.
Yeah, I can't agree with you guys more. I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. People don't realize that they need it until you try it, right? And then there's so much to say about this. My Jens, again, my coach name's Jens Nielsen. He's amazing, but same thing. Basically, he'll ask me the question, why or why do you think, like 50 times in an hour? And I almost, I like kind of tease him for it, but it's so powerful because, I'll say something, they say, well, why do you think of it that way? And that, like that question alone is like,
yeah,
I don't know. And then you kind of dive in and you kind of unlock these things. And then throughout the week, you can reflect on them and it just absolutely helps you to grow. So I couldn't agree with you more. And then you mentioned high performance. I mean, Brendan Burchard is like, in my opinion, one of our today's geniuses. I mean, I just love his style. And so, yeah, we're going through the high performance coaching right now as well. So I think it's just incredibly powerful. So much to say about that, but I'll just leave it there because I could just talk about how cool coaching is. Okay, so the next one is, what's something that you have done in the past that you wouldn't repeat that our listeners can learn from?
Yeah, I can start with that one. So for me, it's thinking that I had to satisfy everyone's needs, like just being that people pleaser and just like learning, through coaching is that like that is not something that I need to do or need to focus on. Like I can learn how to be a better communicator so that I can reach that point, but I don't need to be putting myself down to raise others up, so like that fine balance has been something that I will definitely move past, like, and not do it again in the future because it doesn't serve me, right? So like for me, a lot of the questions are that I ask myself are, does this serve me? And if it doesn't, then like, why would I spend time and energy to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, thanks for sharing and being honest. But what I would say to that is, it's possible that could come off as sounding selfish. It's like, if this doesn't serve me, like get rid of it. But in reality, I think now knowing you a little bit is you have to take care of yourself first. Like that people always talk about like the airplane, right? You have to secure your oxygen mask before you can help others. So if you're not being the best version of yourself, you're not going to be able to serve others the best. And so I appreciate you being open and honest about that. So Michael, what about you?
For me, there's several things I guess I want to share, but I'll just share one thing. And I think that is, I had this like limiting belief in myself that coaching helped with that it was like, I have like this, what I call like, well, I've been told my entire life that I've had like ADD, right? And it's actually just like this, because a lot of doctors don't know how to describe it or how to address it, right? And so they call it ADD, and like I was diagnosed with that or whatever. So a lot of society, they think in like a linear progression, right? Instead of like this. And what I was told now by my coach is like, it's actually this thing called a multiplier mind, right? So the biggest mistake I had, or the thing that I wouldn't repeat, was like limiting myself on that, like trying to fit myself into the conformity of society, right? Into this linear progression, this linear mindset. And now that I've like allowed myself to grow out of that into like this, it's called the multiplier mind. So like, that is when I'm my most creative. And since I've done that, like, I feel like I've been even more creative, not trying to limit myself. So yeah. Like
yeah. I mean, again, thank you for being open. I mean, that's cool that you guys are willing to share. And it's so powerful what you just said, because that could resonate with so many different people with so many different things. So one example would be is like, I struggle with patience, I guess you could say. So throughout my life, it's been kind of this joke, like, you're impatient, you're impatient, you're impatient. And it's been like my parents mostly just saying, and it's mostly a joke, right? I mean, they're just teasing me, but it kind of sank in. And it was sort of this limiting belief that I had, was I didn't have the patience, blah, blah, blah. And of course, now as a parent, you don't have the choice. I mean, you must be patient. But the point is, I've been able to look past that and able to get around that. And the reason I'm drawing it back to yours is, it's a societal thing sometimes where someone tells you this and then it gets in your brain, and then you kind of have to break that, right? So I really appreciate you sharing that and being honest. And I think lots of people who might be diagnosed with that would love to hear that, and love to hear that's not, I mean, it's so hard to diagnose, it's so hard to know, and they just call it that. So I appreciate you being so honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The next one is, what mindset tips can you share with someone who's just getting started?
So for me, it would be that you are the only one who needs to give yourself permission to do something. You don't need, you don't need it from anybody else. You are the only one who needs to tell yourself to go, because deep down, you know your passions and your goals. And so your permission is the only one that needs to be granted.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I don't know if you guys know Luke and Daisy. They have a Make It Rain podcast, and they talk about this, and they've had a few guests talk about something similar. Is like, you're in charge of you, right? And like, you may have a friend or family, and even if it comes from a place of love, they might be saying, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or that's too risky, or whatever. But in reality, you kind of sometimes have to let go of that, and you give yourself permission. So, wow, powerful tip, Suzy. Well done, Michael. You're up.
Yeah, I don't know if I can follow that up, but Eric, we were talking about the networking earlier, right? And how it's like the lifeblood of real estate. It's like the lifeblood of anything really, right? So like a big mindset thing that we had, it was, hey, we knew where we wanted to go, right? We wanted to be multifamily syndicators. And so we started surrounding ourselves with those successful multifamily syndicators and networking with them, chatting with them. And that in itself is like realizing that normal people just like us were doing the exact same thing that we wanted to do. It really made us realize, hey, these people are doing it. They're just like us. We can definitely do it, right? So that in itself, like, so the tip here is to surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, and mimic them, or whatever you need to do. Get in front of them, chat with them, and realize that they're normal human beings. You can do it as well.
Yeah. And I think what I've found is people in that world will say that exact same thing to you, right? So, like you'll find someone who's 5 years ahead of where you are. Maybe they have 4 or 5 syndications, and they'll say that same thing. It's like, I can do it. You can do it. It's not like this, there's no giant secret, or like, there's no password, there's not like a secret room or like code handshake. It's basically find those people and they will say the same thing. So 2 amazing tips. I mean, I completely agree with you, is if you can find someone who's in the position that you're trying to be and just get around them, however that looks, you're going to propel forward, no doubt. So awesome tips. So this next one for some reason for me is always the hardest. But we'll start with, what is your definition of success?
Well, that's a great question. So for me, it's creating like a 1% impact every day, whether that's with myself or with a colleague, with Michael, whomever, like, because 1% means something different to everyone. So as long as you're striving for it, like that ripple effect will continue, because one good act is followed by another and another and another. And so that's just really important to me. And that's what success means to me.
Love it. Michael?
Yeah, and mine is very similar to Suzy, just because we share a lot of the same values, of course, and the same why, and why we're doing real estate. And she touched on it earlier. It's like, we want to be able to leverage, you mentioned money as a tool as well, like leveraging real estate in order to make an impact. And so success for us is being able to actually start building these schools that we want to build in these countries that need help, right? And to be able to just provide the basic education that's necessary in order to bring a lot of people out of poverty. So that's success to me.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, besides you guys that's so cool that you have that value and that kind of goals, and 1% is a lot. So day over day over day over day, it'll build. And so that's really, really cool. And then if someone asks you what makes you successful, you guys specifically, what is your response?
So I actually have a word. Well, I have 3 words for the year, but one of them is consistent. And so what I mean by that is I am consistent with my actions towards everyone, right? Not just the ones that I choose to treat the best. I'm consistent in my workplace. I'm consistent with the people I serve, and I am just consistent, with the people I love. And so that's it for me, showing up when I'm supposed to, doing what I said I was going to, and just being present for meetings. And well, I guess everything's a meeting over Zoom. I was going to say meetings over Zoom, but that's all they are for me, so just like bringing that all together.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, I've heard that something similar. Yours is specific, of course, to you, in that you're talking about being consistent with people you love. I mean, I love that like extra layer, but I do hear that people talk about being consistent is so key to success. So you took it to another level. This has been pretty awesome. So Michael, your turn.
Yeah. So my key, I guess, to success is just very similar. It's consistent, but I call it grit, right? And determination. I didn't have the best grades in school, and because I had ADD, I scored very poorly on all the tests I took. And of the 16, I'll just share this one. I never shared this before. Of the 16 universities, four-year universities that I applied to get into, I got accepted to 0. Big fat goose egg, right? And so I had to find an alternative way to get into college, right? In order to get an education. And so I ended up joining the Air Force, enlisted, and then now I became an officer, went to the Air Force Academy and things like that, and graduated top of my class in the Air Force Academy. And now I'm here and I'm going to be teaching back at the Air Force Academy, which I love teaching. It's like a thing. It's like a passion of mine. It really like fires me up. It's just like giving back via teaching. And so that, I think, in what I've, reflecting back on that whole journey, the one thing that remains consistent is like, well, funny, consistency, but also grit and determination, right? Using everybody else saying that, no, you can't do that. No, you can't get into this. Using that as fuel that really like lights me up and it keeps me going. So,
wow.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for sharing. I mean, that's incredible. Look at you. You're going to have a PhD, right? I mean, so very, very cool of you to share that. And I think that's incredible that you can get past all that, right? Like people saying you can't or say no. And then you just say, for lack of a better term, is screw you. I'm going to after all.
Yeah.
No, I really love it. Again, thanks for sharing. So you guys, this has been incredible. I mean, I think we could probably go on for another 3 hours. Maybe we'll hit stop and keep chatting, of course. But if you guys could tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you and how they can reach out.
Yeah. So if you're interested in learning how you can make an impact in real estate investing, or want to chat with us about how to make an impact, or dive a little bit deeper into that net operating impact that we just chatted about, just go to our website, eventrusrei.com/info, and you'll be able to find all of our links there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys again. Appreciate your time and openness. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you.
Eric.
Yeah, we're both saying thank you, but thank you. It was a lot of fun and truly a pleasure. So we're happy to be here today.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Mindset Podcast. If you've enjoyed the content today, please follow this show wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to head over to wildoakcapital.com for more information or to connect with Eric directly. Please take a moment to leave a review or tell a friend about what you've listened to today. We hope you'll tune in again soon.